shit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait.
Okay, now.
Hey guys, this is Steve Huff from SteveHuffPhoto.com, and I'm here today. I finally have my Canon 1DX Mark II set up and running. It's filming this right now with the 24 1.4 Mark II L Prime. Beautiful lens. I've shot with this camera for a few days now, video and photo, and I want to give some of my thoughts and tell you guys the two things that I get from this camera that I can't get anywhere else.
There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the rivers, but they all never come for the booze and bass. I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place.
Now let's get real, let's get honest. The Sony cameras, such as the a7 III, let's focus on the a7 III from Sony, just to be clear. That camera is the best buy going right now for a full frame digital still camera and video camera. It does both extremely well. It has 4K, you have plenty of glass for it. Coming in at $19.99 or $19.98, just under $2,000, that is the camera I would recommend to anyone wanting to go to full frame and wanting video capability, whether that's HD, slow motion, or 4K, as well as fantastic stills capability. So the question is, why on earth did I buy a Canon 1DX Mark II that comes in at $5,500, $3,500 more than the Sony a7 III, when the Sony a7 III is more than capable for video, which is why I bought this, the numero uno reason I bought this camera. Well, there's two things I get from this Canon that I simply cannot get from the Sony, and that's why I decided to make the jump. There's actually probably more than two things, but two important things to me that were very important. And the first one is the amazing color right out of the camera. So what you're seeing here with the Canon is right out of camera. I've done no adjustments to this color or file at all. I simply loaded my compact flash card into my Mac Pro, opened up Final Cut Pro, loaded the video in, and whipped this together without having to worry about color grading or messing with the color. I love Canon color. I've always loved Canon color, going back to the original 5D Mark I that I used to own and love. And right now, this is being filmed on the 24-1.4 Mark II. It is a gorgeous lens. I can even get up close and that focus will keep lock right on me. The first thing right out of the gate is the color. I could never get this kind of color from the Sony, and I tried and I tried. I even shot S-Log. I shot different various profiles, and there was always some kind of cast to the skin tones. So I was never happy with the color I was getting. Now I'm gonna say that that's on me, my fault, not being able to get the color, because I'm not an expert at color grading or altering color with video. So I'll put that one on me. I still think these Sony cameras are the best buy going, and if you're trying to get in the video, I would steer you in that direction versus something like this. Now, the second thing that this gives me, that the Sony almost gives me, is the autofocus with video. This uses dual pixel AF, Canon's dual pixel AF, which you've heard all about it, and everything you heard is true. Even this little guy right here, let's see if we can focus, even this little M50 has dual pixel autofocus. It basically, as you can see here, will lock on my hand. I have it on face detect, so I have to block my face in order for it to focus, but it will just focus and lock right back onto my face after I change the focus, and it's quick, it's smooth, it's not abrupt. The Sonys can be very abrupt, and sometimes they can hunt a little back and forth, and a couple times even the A9 has tracked what has come behind me instead of sticking with me. I prefer Canon's dual pixel AF over the Sony's AF, but I gotta say they're pretty much tied neck and neck. They're both amazing, and that's why the Sony gives you an amazing bang for the buck. Now, I've tried Panasonic GH5, GH5S, the autofocus failed miserably. I've tried the Leica SL for video with the big honkin' 24-90. The autofocus for video failed miserably for my needs. I tried the Fuji X-H1. I love the look of the video. I love the 5-axis image stabilization in that Fuji X-H1. I disliked the horrendous battery life, and the autofocus was nowhere near the Canon dual pixel or the Sony autofocus, even though the Fuji body felt better than the Sony. So those are the main two things of why I chose the 1DX Mark II. It was a business decision, a business investment, not one from the heart. Normally I buy my cameras from the heart, and that's when I get into trouble. This time I made a sound business decision after much research, and this is going to be something that's going to be with me for years to do work for me. Right now it's on a tripod, I have a mic, I have a display, small HD display. The battery life I never have to worry about. It's got a big honkin' battery that will last quite a long time for shooting video, and for photos, forget about it. You can take 1,300, 1,500 photos. Sony these days has great battery life, but this one's even better. So what else do I get from the 1DX that extra $3 bought me? I get amazing build quality, amazing weather sealed, weatherproof body that's going to stand up to rain, snow, sleet, putting it on the ground, which I'm gonna be having it in all of these situations and scenarios. So it gets me that toughness. I can take out my compact flash cards without having to take the camera off the tripod. I can take the battery out without having to take the camera off the tripod, which is amazing because most of this life of this camera will be on a tripod. The compact flash card door, it seals with like a little lock. It's so solid. The battery locks in and seals. It's build quality. I'm not dissing the Sony, but this is on another level over the Sony. It's a lot bigger, it's a lot heavier, but it is built to a true professional level. The Sony A9 is built very well too, but it doesn't have the same weather sealing as this Canon, and it just doesn't feel the same. This is an ergonomics masterpiece if you don't mind a big camera. The menu on the Sonys, The menu on the Canon, thumbs up all the way, very easy to understand and implement whatever you need. So I was also able to take some photos, a few photos with the Canon, and I am very pleasantly surprised at the photo quality as well. When I first shot it, my 24 and my 51.2 were off, so I had to dial in some micro adjustment, and I used a software program from Focal or Focal, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, and it did it automatically just by hooking it up via USB to my computer. It did all the test shots. It took about 10-15 minutes, told me where to dial it in, and now they are perfect. So everything about the 1DX Mark II is professional, it's sublime. Yes, it's expensive, yes, it's heavy, but it is a true professional camera. So I'm gonna be using it for video, for stuff like this, for other projects that I'm doing out and about. We're gonna be traveling with it. And I wanna share with you some of the first photos I took with it because I think it has amazing promise for me for when I do wanna use it in certain situations like low light music clubs and just everyday stuff. So here's a few of the first photos I shot, and I'll narrate over it so you can understand the scenarios and situations I was in. All right, let's take a look at some photos from the 1DX Mark II just in my first 2 days with it. This first one is of my stepdaughter Katie. She had just went swimming. I was dialing in that focus adjustment on the 51.2. This was shot at f1.2 with focus on her eye, as you can tell. This is right after I dialed in the lens, and this is just a beautiful, ethereal looking portrait. I love the look of that lens. Here's the complete opposite, the 16-35 Mark III. This was at like a high ISO, maybe around like 10,000 or so, around that area. I converted to black and white. Here's one at 25,600 in almost total darkness. The color remained, there was a red light bulb, and it just nailed it, the focus and everything. It focused that shot. Here's one at 25,600 without any noise reduction at all, of a performance at the Lost Leaf in Phoenix, Arizona. My son and I went there to mess around with the Canon M50 using the 51.2, so I slapped that 51.2 onto the 1DX to see how high the ISO could go, where I could get away with it. 25,600. In this club, the Leica SL tops out at 10,000 before becoming unusable, and the Sony around 12,800. So the 1DX2 did great. This is ISO 8000 in my office or music room. And I have weird eyes here because we went out to a Halloween party years ago. We have a book of our photos. Here is one with the 51.2. Again, very creamy, very beautiful color. This is why you buy this lens, for that beautiful autofocus rendering and that just dreamy, creamy draw, right? So here's another one of the fire hydrant. I love the color coming out of the Canon. Each camera produces different color. What you like is personal preference. I like Leica, I like Canon, I like Sony images, but for video, it's Canon all the way. As you can see that this video, you know, the color of this video was filmed with the Canon, and that color is beautiful. But it also relates to photos. You get kind of a natural Canon look to the photos. This was shot with the 24-1.4 wide open Mark II. Again, after I calibrated it, it looks great. This was ISO 8000 at the lost leaf, and the next photo coming up was 8000 of the same guitar player but in color, and I was shocked to see how clean and how good the color was at ISO 8000. This is that place where it's torturous to take photos, but he did have a light on his music stand which helped dramatically. It took away that red glow that is everywhere else. Here's Katie again in the pool. She had a leaf stuck to her head. This was with the 24 after I calibrated it, and again, focus on her eye. The color is just beautiful here. A summer day in the pool looks wonderful. This next one of her was before it was fully calibrated. I was like 3 notches off, but even so, it still came out great. The dynamic range is not as bad as many make it out to be. I had no problem shooting in full Phoenix sun with the 1DX Mark II. So far, so good. So all in all, the Canon 1DX Mark II, after my first week, after that fiasco with Amazon where they sent me the wrong camera in a 1DX box and I was scammed, Amazon has refunded my card as I expected them to. That was never a problem or a concern. It was just a minor inconvenience. Moral of that story is never order a 1DX Mark II from Amazon, and this was fulfilled by Amazon, shipped by Amazon, and I bought it via Prime. It was a third-party seller, but Amazon took care of the shipment and fulfillment, so it was on them. Whoever stole it from Amazon, and I don't blame the third-party seller for that issue. So that was taken care of. Amazon fixed it. This camera came from B&H Photo, who I've been shopping with for 20 years. Never a problem with B&H. I should have went there in the first place. The 1DX Mark II is really a masterpiece of a DSLR. I had to get used to using an optical viewfinder again. It's so much different. I had to dial in the lenses, the micro focus adjustment, because with DSLRs you can have back focus, front focus, especially with these fast primes. Canon glass is beautiful. The fast L primes are beautiful, though they're not up to the sharpness and perfection levels of a Sony G Master or Leica glass. They have some of their own beautiful character in many ways. I don't want that biting sharp that shows every pore and every detail of skin. These kind of have a way of blowing out the backgrounds, giving you that pastel-like beautiful color, and keeping things a little bit on the soft side. So I love the Canon for video. I would not go back to Sony for me, but again, I'm recommending the Sony cameras for everybody else if you want an all-in-one full frame, because you're getting the most bang for your buck. The Sony a7 III is probably going to be the camera of the year this year because of what it offers for so little, and Nikon and Canon are going to have a hard time catching up to Sony in the mirrorless wars coming up here soon. As we all know, Nikon and Canon are coming out with professional mirrorless cameras to compete against the Sony a7s and a9s of the world. But will they be able to compete? I'm going to do a video on that next with my thoughts and what I think is going to happen in the upcoming mirrorless camera wars. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified of new videos, thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.